All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our practice today. You'll notice I'm in a different spot. I'm in the basement of my house, which is a lot of times where I do my yoga practice. So you'll see my storage room door back there behind me. Um, but we're getting real. It's the pandemic, so you can do yoga anywhere in your house. You don't have to have anything fancy or special. I am just wearing comfy clothes today, clothes that I can move in. But if you want to pause the video for a moment, go grab a spot on the floor somewhere. Maybe you have a yoga mat hanging around, maybe you don't, it doesn't matter. You don't need to have a yoga mat. You can just do this on carpet, or you can even spread out a towel if you have pets and just want to be a little bit removed from the carpet. Also, you might see I have a blanket behind me. One of the postures, or a couple of the postures that I'm going to show you today as part of our mindful movement for stress relief and relaxation, we're going to use a blanket. So maybe take a minute and grab that. So pause if you need to, and I'll meet you on your mat for our mindful movement practice today. All right, getting settled. Welcome, welcome. This is the first time you're joining us. My name is Janine. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the owner of Wyoming Workplace Wellness, and this is part of a series of videos and live Zoom meetings that we're doing with LCCC students. So welcome. Hopefully you've had a chance to watch the other videos if you didn't attend live and in person. I absolutely recommend that. This week we are working on mindful movement for stress management and relaxation. On Monday, we talked a little bit about the why behind moving mindfully, and we spent some time talking about moving with intention. So using intention to make your workouts, your movements throughout the day, just going for walks, things like that, a little bit more mindful. So incorporating mindfulness into your movement and your activity during the day. Today, what I thought we would do is explore some easy, gentle yoga. Maybe you're an experienced yoga practitioner. Maybe this is the first time you've tried yoga. Both are awesome. This practice is great for folks that have been doing yoga for a long time and for folks that are just starting out. So I'll invite you to find a comfortable seat on the floor. I'm sitting in what is known as Sukhasana in Sanskrit, or just an easy cross-legged seat. But if you aren't comfortable in this posture, you could also sit back on the heels, kind of sitting on your knees like this. So just find a shape that works for you. And just like we begin all of our practices, let's take a moment to ground, allowing the sits bones to really anchor into the mat while the crown of the head reaches up towards the ceiling. Just creating a nice long spine, opening up the airway, right? All the way from the nose down to the belly. Maybe shrug the shoulders up towards the ears and then let them fall down the back. Begin to tune in with the breath. Noticing your inhales and your exhales. Do a quick body scan. Beginning at the soles of the feet, slowly move the awareness up through the ankles, the calves, the knees, the thighs. Noticing as you go any places of tightness or tension. Don't try to change anything. Don't judge yourself, just notice. Scan through the hips, the glutes, the low back, the belly. Maybe pause at your heart space, breathing into that space for a breath or two, noticing how it feels there. Does your breath feel open and expansive? Does it feel tight and restricted? Finally, bring your awareness into your shoulders, your arms. Notice your throat. Does it feel tight or open? How about your jaw? You can yawn. Just relax the jaw a little bit if you need that. And now bring your awareness to your emotional and your mental self. Where's your head? Where's your heart? What thoughts are being persistent? What are you feeling right now? Again, no judgment. Just noticing, and if you can name it, that's excellent. Maybe you can name, I'm feeling tired, worried, excited, stressed, frustrated, happy. Any feeling is valid. The naming and the noticing of it is part of our mindfulness practice. Take a deep breath in, breathing to any thoughts or feelings that are coming up for you. And then give yourself permission to set anything aside that you can set aside for our practice together today. We're only together for about 30 minutes. Know that any to-do lists, any regrets, plans for the future will still be here when we're finished. But right now, give yourself permission to really be present for our time together today. Two more breaths here. Now, if you'll recall on Monday, we talked about setting an intention before moving mindfully. So let's practice that today. Still staying in your nice tall anchored seat. Eyes are closed down or the gaze is just soft. Turn inward and see if you can find an intention for our practice today. It could be something as simple as, I will be present. It could be, I will stay with my breath. It could be, I will relax, or I am relaxed. It can be, I let go of stress, or anything else. Just ask yourself, what's my intention, and see what floats to the surface, and then embrace that, breathing into your ideas and your thoughts and your intention for our practice. And you can keep the eyes closed or maybe flutter them open. And we'll inhale, bring two arms up, palms press, gaze follows, breathe in here. Exhale, twist to the right. Left fingertips come to the right knee. Right fingertips come right behind your backbone. So your right arm is kind of acting like a second spine here. And the gaze can just go out over the right shoulder if that feels okay on the neck. Don't force anything or really tweak anything, just gentle twist, twisting from right here, right in the center of your core. And I'm not pulling super hard on my knee. I'm just using it as a little bit of leverage here. Keep your shoulders nice and low. Breathe, breathe deep down into the belly. Next inhale brings you back through center, releasing the twist. Exhale here. Inhale, two arms reach up, palms press. Exhale, twist left. Right fingers to the left knee, left fingertips right behind your sacrum, your tailbone. Left arm is that second spine. Gaze is out over the left shoulder this time. Gentle twist, inhaling to lengthen the spine. And then maybe exhaling to twist a little teensy bit deeper, a micro amount deeper. Deep belly breaths. Inhale to release and come back through center. Exhale here. Inhale, two arms reach up, gaze up, dial the pinkies in towards each other. Take a couple of breaths here, just reaching up towards the sky. Make your spine nice and long. One more deep breath in. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Take it slow. Go as far as you can with a flat back and then round the spine. Allow the low back to release here. Still taking those deep belly breaths, feeling the belly expand against the thighs here maybe. We'll be here for about 4 breaths, so enjoy it, really sink in. When you're ready, on an inhale, slowly roll back up to a seat. Bring fingertips behind the body, rock back on the sits bones and switch out the cross of your legs. So now your legs are crossed kind of the non-dominant way. We'll take a moment to settle in here. Find your sits bones again. Make sure they're nice and centered. Spine is long. And this time we'll take some seated cat-cows and we'll do what I call stirring the pot. So for a cat-cow, we're basically flexing the spine back and forth. And I'll turn to the side so you can see what I'm doing. I'll place my hands on my knees, gazing forward. Inhale to drop the head back, pull the heart forward. Exhale, round the spine, tuck the chin. So this is your cat back. Inhale, cow. It's your back bend. Exhale, cat. We'll do 3 more of these. Inhale. Exhale. We're matching our breath to movement, which is an important piece of a yoga practice and a mindful movement practice. Whether or not what you're doing is yoga, matching breath to movement can help your movement be more mindful. Coming back to stillness, I'll face you again here. We'll do what's called stirring the pot, or that's what I call it. So imagine your pelvic bowl is the pot and your spine is the spoon stirring. So we're just going to take some rolls. So I'm rounding my spine when I go back, pulling the heart forward when I go forward. Nice circles. You can pause anywhere that you need to, anywhere that feels tight or tense. I always have a hip that wants to pop when I'm doing this. Go ahead and switch directions now, going the opposite way that you started with. Just taking it nice and slow, maybe inhaling to move forward, exhaling to pull back. One more breath here. Finding stillness. Inhale, 2 arms reach up, dial the pinkies in, gaze up, exhale. Inhale deeply. Exhale, forward fold. Take it low, just like we did with our other cross-legged seat. Maybe notice if anything feels different on this side. Feel into the hips, the low back. For me, this non-dominant side almost always feels a little bit different. 2 breaths in, 2 breaths out. Inhale to roll up 1 vertebrae at a time. Head is the last to lift. Exhale, settle for 1 more breath in your Sukhasana, easy seat. And now if you're able to, you can simply rock forward over your crossed legs and find a tabletop shape. Or you can get into a tabletop any other way, doesn't matter. So I'm here on my mat, knees directly under hips, hands directly under shoulders. And we're gonna do that same movement we did seated, the cat-cow movement, but this time in a tabletop. So we'll inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze. Exhale, push the mat away, round the spine, tuck the tail. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Bringing movement into the spine. Letting any tension from the day just release with your breath. Two more here. You can make them as exaggerated as you like. You're at home, no one can see you. And when you're ready, settle back into stillness. Walk the knees out as wide as the mat. Bring the toes into touch. Inhale here. Exhale, sink the hips towards the heels. Walk the hands out long and melt the heart towards the mat. Just let your forehead rest on the mat. This is called child's pose. And this is a really, really good pose to do anytime you feel stressed, like you're, off center or off kilter, and you need to just find a moment to ground and return to your breath. Child's pose is a really good way to do it. If child's pose is uncomfortable for you, what you can try is rolling up or folding a blanket and tucking it between the hips and the heels. So it's kind of like making yourself a little cushion, and see if that helps. You could also put a pillow or something else there, but that's a trick that can make child's pose more comfortable for some people. But the beautiful thing about this pose is that it helps you turn on your parasympathetic nervous system. And this is something we talked about in one of our previous sessions together. So we have 2 nervous systems, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight. And a lot of us spend a ton of time every day in fight or flight because our lives are so busy and so stressful. Anytime we can encourage the parasympathetic nervous system, otherwise known as rest and digest, to turn on, we're doing our body a favor. We're lowering our heart rate, lowering blood pressure, lowering those stress hormones that can course through and make everything just feel off. So child's pose is beautiful for that. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Inhale, slowly come back up to a seat. And come out of your child's pose, just slow, be really gentle with yourself, and come to a seat in the middle of your mat. Grab your blanket if you have one, and we'll go into a gentle restorative back bend. Back bends are really, really good for us. We spend a lot of time doing this, right? Typing, texting, all the things, and our spine gets really used to doing this, and our heart gets used to being like constricted. So anytime you can open up is going to be good for you. And I love this back bend because it's really gentle, it's really accessible, and it's super, super relaxing. I'm just going to check the time. We're doing great. So I have a blanket that's just folded into kind of a rectangle. And what I'm going to do is just do a couple of little tight rolls at one end. So I have this, it's kind of like rolled up into a halfway rolled up into a tube, I guess is what I'm saying. And what you're going to do is your back is going to bend over the tube, and then this part might be a pillow for your head. So I'm going to put this towards the top of my mat. And then you can just lower yourself down onto it. Make sure you can see me. And this tube is going to go right in the middle of your back. Really, like kind of, I don't know, 4 inches lower than your armpit, if that makes sense. So find a place that works for you, and then just allow yourself to drape over it. Your shoulders should be touching the ground. If they're not touching the ground, you have that roll too high up and you need to push it towards your hips just a little bit. Once you get it where it feels nice, go ahead and let your feet just flop out and let your arms come out to a T shape. Gentle back bend. This is a restorative yoga pose. And one of the neat things about restorative yoga is that you're really letting gravity do a lot of the work for you. So we often will hold our restorative poses, sometimes for several minutes. So you could really do this like while you listen to a 10-minute podcast or a couple of your favorite songs, anytime you just feel like you need to open up. And slowly you'll begin to just feel your heart space and your collarbones kind of separate and open. You'll feel that space between and underneath your shoulder blades start to relax. As we lay here in our restorative back bend, you can also practice what's called heart breath. And I'll walk you through it. So you'll have this, and this is a great posture to do this in. Bring your awareness to your heart space, the space that's shining up towards the sky right now. And just willfully suspend your disbelief for a moment and imagine that you're able to inhale and exhale through the heart. If it helps, you can even imagine you have nostrils there or a vent, some other mechanism for inhaling and exhaling air right in the center of your heart space. Take 3 heart breaths just like this. Every time you inhale, you create space and openness. Every time you exhale, maybe you release just a little bit more into the posture. Let's take 1 more heart breath. Now to get out of this, you don't want to just sit right up. That's going to hurt your back, probably. It's not going to feel good anyway. So the best way to get out of this is just to bend one knee and then roll over onto your side, coming into the fetal position for just a minute. Just notice how this feels. If you need to, you can go ahead and roll off of your little tube so you can be flat on the floor. And then on an inhale, you can gently press yourself back up to a seat. And we'll return once again to that cross-legged seat. Take a moment to find a tall, neutral spine here and just notice. Close down the eyes. Notice how the spine feels. Notice how your shoulders feel. Deep breathing. This is another way to make your movement mindful. If you go for a run in the mornings, something I like to do, when you get back, sit down and take 3 breaths, just noticing how your body feels after that exercise, after that movement. You can do it with anything, a bike ride, a long walk. Just take 3 breaths to notice how your body feels. All right. You can go ahead and move your blanket off to the side. And I'm going to show you an option for when we lay down. So before we lay down, I'm taking my blanket out to a wider rectangle and I'm going to roll it up into a long tube. And I'll show you why here in a minute. But I've got this nice long tube now, and I'm just going to set this on the side of my mat for a moment. Slowly lower down onto your back. And you can bring your knees into the chest just for a second, maybe rocking side to side. This can feel really nice on the low back. Just massage it out. And then come to stillness, but keep your knees up towards the chest. Let your arms fall out to a T shape. Inhale here. Exhale to lower both knees over to the left. This is a supine twist. Check in with your shoulders here. Make sure both shoulders are touching the ground. If they're not, you might want to put a pillow or something under the knees just so the shoulders can anchor themselves a little bit better. You can keep the gaze up towards the ceiling, or you can turn the head to look out over the opposite arm of the direction your knees are going. So in this case, looking out over the right hand. Supine twists are also really good for your parasympathetic nervous system. They can also help you sleep. You can do this in bed before you go to sleep, and it can really help set you up for some restful slumber. So give it a try. Let me know how it goes. For our practice here, we'll take one more breath on this side. And inhale, bring the knees back through center, taking your time. And exhale, drop them over to the right. Re-anchoring the shoulders if you need to, and then maybe you turn the head to gaze out over the left hand. Breathe here. Let yourself really sink in. Next inhale brings you back to center. Hug the knees in one more time, and then let the feet fall to the floor. So this is where you have some options. At the end of every yoga class, we typically will take what's known as Shavasana or corpse pose. A traditional Shavasana, just your legs come out nice and long. You let the feet kind of flop open to the side. Arms rest gently on the floor, eyes closed down, and you just sink into your mat. Sometimes we can use a little bit more opening, and so I love what's known as Supta Baddha Konasana, or reclined cobbler's pose. So to do that modification, you bring your soles of your feet into touch and let your knees fall out wide. For some of us, this feels really great, just like this. For some of us, it can feel like a lot on our inner groins, which probably means that you do need a little bit of opening, but this might be too intense. So here's the trick with the tube, and I'll sit up to show you this. If you're interested in a reclined cobbler, Supta Baddha Konasana, but it's a little bit uncomfortable, take your rolled up blanket. I'll scoot back so you can see my feet. So I'm in my butterfly shape. My rolled up blanket is going to go on top of my ankles and then wrap underneath my calves. And what that does is just provide a nice cushion and support for your legs so they're not just like hanging in space. So that can be a beautiful way to find your final rest in a yoga class or just before bed. Maybe you do this practice before bed, and this feels great just laying like this in bed for a moment, letting your hips open up. Whether you're in Shavasana or reclined cobblers, go ahead and take 3 final breaths, just sinking into the mat, letting your whole body relax. If you do this at bedtime and you're in bed, you can move to a body scan meditation, which we've done together, but just move body part by body part, inviting it to soften and relax, breathing into spaces that feel tight or tense. If you're doing this in the middle of the day or still have some things to do, to safely come out of Shavasana or reclined cobblers, kind of the same thing we did with our little back bend. When you're ready to be done, you can inhale to roll over to one side, taking a breath in the fetal position, and then inhaling up to a seat. It's nice to finish your yoga practice with just a short seated meditation if you have the time. And that's something that we're very practiced at now, right? We've been doing that for 4 weeks. So coming back to your tall, comfortable seat, closing down the eyes, noticing how the body feels after some mindful movement. We'll inhale to arms up, palms press. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center and really push the thumbs into the sternum. So right into the heart space. And return to that heart breathing for just 2 breaths. Inhale, exhale through the heart. Inhale through the heart. Exhale. Thank you very much for joining me today for this yoga practice. I hope you found it relaxing and useful and found some postures that you might want to incorporate into your mindfulness routine, into your bedtime routine. As I record this, it's the night before Thanksgiving, which can be a really wonderful holiday. It can also be really, really stressful this year in particular. So I hope you find some postures that we went through in this practice to be helpful in relaxing and moving out of fight or flight into rest and digest. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. I think next week we're talking about, I want to say it's improving sleep. I think that's right. So I'll see you guys then. Take care.